This week's parsha is the most important parsha in the entire Torah. You may ask, why is this week's parsha the most important in the entire Torah? Well, let me tell you. Parsha Bechukotai contains a blessing and a curse. We read about the blessing that will be ours if we follow Hashem's decrees. The land will sustain us, we'll have peace, our enemies will fall before us. I will be a God to you and you will be my people. But then we read about what happens if we don't keep Hashem's decrees. We have 10 lines of blessing, followed by page after page after page of curses. But none of that is why this is the most important parsha in the Torah. The reason this is the most important parsha is because it tells us about the eternity of the Jewish people. Chapter 26 ends with a great closing line to the book of Vayikra. These are the decrees, the ordinances, and the teachings that Hashem gave between himself and the children of Israel at Mount Sinai through Moshe. It's a great closing line. It addresses the different types of laws we learned about in the book, Chukim, Mishpatim, and Hatorot. It references where the laws were given at Sinai. It identifies the source of the laws as Hashem and the agent through which they were given, Moshe. Perfect closing line to a complicated book of Torah. But one problem. Chapter 26 isn't the last chapter in the book of Vayikra. The book has 27 chapters. So after what seems like a perfect closing line, we get one more chapter, which then closes in a similar fashion. These are the commandments that Hashem commanded Moshe to the children of Israel at Mount Sinai. We have an ending, then one more chapter, then another ending. What's going on here? It almost feels like you're listening to a speech, and the speaker wraps it up with a beautiful closing line, but then realizes they forgot to say something important and sticks one more paragraph at the end. So what was so important that necessitated being added in chapter 26 after that great closing line? It must be something big, something core to Judaism, maybe something about Shabbat or kosher. Chapter 27 addresses two issues, Erochin and Temura, not exactly everyday ideas in modern Jewish consciousness. Erochin are the laws of what happens when someone makes a vow regarding the valuation of a living being. How do you determine what that valuation is? We like to say that you can't put a price tag on a person, but here we are. The Torah puts very specific price tags on different people. Then you have Temura, which are the laws of what happens when you designate an object for the temple and then want to change that object. Why are these so important that they needed to be seemingly added in as a postscript to the book of Vayikra? The blessing and the curse in the parsha have a simple theme. If we accept Hashem and keep his laws, Hashem will keep the covenant with us. If we reject Hashem and Hashem's laws, Hashem will reject the covenant with us. Simple idea, but this notion that if we misbehave, Hashem will annul the covenant was the source of much of historical Christian replacement theology. The Jewish people broke their covenant, so Hashem rejected them and formed a new covenant, a new testament with a new people, the new children of Israel, the Christians. Of course, that's not the correct understanding of the curse, but if you only have the text of the curse to work from, you can see how one might understand it that way. That's where chapter 27 comes in. You see, Temura is about what happens when you consecrate an object but then change your mind. Turns out there's no taking that back. He shall not exchange it nor substitute it. Just as when we consecrate something as holy, it stays holy. When Hashem consecrates a people as holy, they stay holy. There's no substitution. God doesn't change his mind. Hashem established a covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and the covenant continued throughout the generations to the Israelites as they left Egypt and entered the land of Israel. And even when we break the covenant and reject Hashem's laws, there's no substitution. The covenant is eternal. The relationship may go through its ups and downs, but the relationship is forever, in the words of the Parsha. But despite all this, when they are in the land of their enemies, I will not reject them or spurn them so as to destroy them, annulling my covenant with them. For I, Hashem, am their God. I will remember for them the covenant with the ancients whom I freed from the land of Egypt in the sight of all the nations to be their God. I am Hashem. The Jewish people are eternal. That's one reason why this is the most important parsha in the entire Torah. But the other reason is that the most important piece of Torah is whatever piece of Torah you have in front of you right now. Shabbat Shalom and Yisroel Chai.